Welcome to Cooperville.
Thank you very much. It's so good to be back. I promise, no more singing for the rest of the show. Okay, that may be a lie. Hope you're all having a great Wednesday. Joe's in the house. What up, Joe? Good to see you, my friend. Good to be back on the program. Hello to you all. Namaste and all the things. Beautiful day in the great state of Wisconsin. Almost Friday for you, Joe. 82. Whoa. Whoa. Wait a minute. It's the second to last day of September. It's 82 degrees outside. It's too warm. I was waiting for that, Joe. I figured. You're like, wait, what happened to 70? Like, that was good. Short-lived, though. Short-lived. I think we have tomorrow, and then I think it's going to cool off. We get some rain. Yeah. Cool off and rain. Joe knows. Let's check the fine sponsors of this program. Cooperville Clothing, new drop coming up. Actually, several new things coming up on Friday of this week. So make sure you check into that. Got a nice Halloween vibe thing going on. Wisconsin business right here. Cooperville Clothing. I mean, we're all legends in our own minds, aren't we? Tees, long sleeves, and the hoodies. I like that hoodie. That might have to end up in my closet. But like most hoodies, they end up magically disappearing. Check out Cooperville Clothing. Make sure you follow us on all the socials as well, as that's where we keep you up to date on all the things that we got going on. New drops and such. Captain Coop's Beard Company. Keeping your beard in fine condition during all of these conditions. I was talking to my buddy Brewer yesterday. He's doing the thing that I spoke about. He was doing it's fall time and hunting is coming, so the beard is starting to come in, and he was inquiring about some Captain Coop stuff. I said, keep that all year round. Beard oils, beard balms, beard butters, the apparel. Gift cards as well. If you know somebody, maybe they got a birthday coming up, take care of it. CaptainCoops.com. So, yeah, dealing with the weather going on. Enjoying the heat wave today and tomorrow, and be back to normality coming up as we get towards the weekend. Can't believe it's almost October, too. Like, that's wild. Like, August 1 till the 29th day of September feels like it literally lasted a day. It's flying by. Bring on the snow. Bring on the snow, he says. No, sir. Not just yet. I think I need to upgrade my shovel. So I'm I'm not quite sure I'm ready for those such things. I'm going to have to do this. This may interrupt this broadcast. Let me see if I bring it down here once. We're going to go back over to this. I got to resend the link to Orlando Owens, who's going to be joining us here in just a bit. So we're going to swing over here so I can swing over here and grab the link so that he can join us. Yeah. Well, let's do it. Get back over to this screen. We'll get over to here. We'll make things happen. Boom. Live performances require some pivots. There. Let him know. Just re-email that over. We should be set. But yes, Orlando Owens, who is running for Wisconsin State Secretary, is going to be joining the show. Oh, Joe needs to get the sled out. Feel the need for speed, to quote Top Gun. I get it. I don't have a sled. But I have a shovel and an escape plan. And that escape plan is the state of Florida for the month of January. That's the plan, and I'm sticking to it. Or we're sticking to it. Nashville first, and then Florida, and then return sometime in February. That's my plan for when that snow starts to become... It's not even the snow necessarily. Like, whatever, with the snow. It's like once you get after Christmas and it's just stupid cold. It's just stupid cold. And there's nothing else to do. So we planned our great escape to be like, oh, well, it's January. We out. We're making a run for it. Not a run. We're going to drive. We're going to drive to Florida. Not run, if that makes any sense. But yeah, definitely the change in the air, as you can feel. I need my Sharpie. Where? It's throwing me off. Holding all these highlighters and pens and stuff. I don't have my Sharpie. I feel like I'm out of balance. But yeah, approaching the end of the month, so we have October rolling in, Halloween. As I mentioned on the show Monday, we got all of our Halloween stuff up. Like I'm impressed with how things are looking in the front of the Cooper household. like we set up like a little graveyard thing, and we got the fake skeletons out and the Happy Halloween sign and pumpkins. Like, I have a feeling I think we're at like 6 pumpkins now. But after analysis, after a little needs analysis, we're probably going to end up buying all of the pumpkins to fulfill the setup in the front yard, which is strange because we won't be here for Halloween to hand out candy or anything, but still. So time's just flying by as far as the end of September, getting into October already. So hold on to your hats, people. It's going to be that roller coaster ride into the holidays and then into January. Must be nice. Must be nice, Joe says. You know, like we're just like making like a long, elongated vacation out of the month of January. The kids are going to fly down. We got some friends flying down, some family that are going to fly down. So like we kind of came up with the idea, and then we've told people about it, and they're all like, that sounds fantastic. I would like to come down to Florida and visit you. I'm like, find your own place to stay. That's all that matters. Cool. Very excited. So, we had Jonathan Wickman on the show last week. Great conversation with Jonathan. Thanks to him for sharing the video on his personal page or on his campaign page. Very cool. Orlando Owens reaches out, and he's like, I would love to be on your show. And I said, I would love to talk to you, sir. And through the magic of the internet, we've made it possible to bring in Orlando Jones, who again is running for Wisconsin State Treasury. How you doing, my friend? Welcome to the program.
Hey, I'm doing good, my friend Coop. How you doing?
Dude, it's I know you're down southern part of the state, but are you guys getting this weird September heat wave down there as well?
Yes, man. I had to cut on my AC again. So yeah, it's strange. It's the least. Let me cut on the light. You keep talking. I'm going to cut on the light so it'll be a little brighter in here.
No, you're good, man. It's this is that weird time of year where you get you think you get to turn off the air, you turn off the heat, you turn off the air, you get to open the windows and kind of live in this non-electric bill frame of life for a elongated period of time. But then it goes 82 during the day and like 45 at night. So like my furnace and central air unit is just very confused this time of year.
Yeah, I understand. I understand, man. So I'm adjusting as well too.
Well,
Wisconsin.
That's right, because I want to talk a little bit about kind of your upbringing and stuff, and what brought you up here, and again getting into the political arena in a very it's an odd time in the political arena, as I'm sure that you're well aware of. But tell me about where you grew up and kind of how you made your way up here, because I know there's some southern roots with you.
Well, I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, but I was raised here.
Oh, gotcha.
I've been here since about 6. So Milwaukee is definitely where I call home, but I do have Southern ties.
Yeah.
If you call Missouri Southern, and I went to school in the South, in Atlanta, Georgia, Morris Brown Historical Black College.
Very cool. And you've had your foot in to politics a little bit. This is your first time running for like an office, but you had some time to spend with Senator Ron Johnson as part of his team. Tell me about that experience, and was that kind of the great conduit from you getting to witness it kind of in a firsthand role to actually taking a step into the arena yourself?
So actually, I've ran for office twice.
You have?
3
Okay.
times already. So I ran for city alderman here in the city of Milwaukee.
Gotcha.
Twice. And also ran recently last year for state rep in Milwaukee here.
Okay.
Got to be pretty handily in the blue area because it's Milwaukee. And that was an experience. That was my first run probably in about 15 years. And, I put on the banner of the Republican, ideas and went throughout the city of Milwaukee doing doors, talking to people, going to forums and debates for the most part. And really put that issue of what we have as solutions to the community. But I worked for Ron Johnson now for about 6, almost 7 years. I was formerly the state director of African American engagement for the Republican Party of Wisconsin, which was a collaboration with the RNC. Prior to that, I spent about, 13 years as a volunteer, not really seeking office, just came out to the campaign offices, worked, made phone calls, did doors, and got a chance to work for Ryan's Previous when he started a program called the Growth and Opportunities Project, which they went out and hired different minorities and different segments to start, carrying our conservative message. It was shortly after we lost to Obama. and they did this autopsy. And it was like, we got to do better in these, emerging communities or communities that we typically don't do well in. And so I was hired by him and a collaboration of the state party. I was there for 1 year. In that time, I got a chance to meet Tony Blando, which is the former chief of staff of Senator Ron Johnson. Him and I kind of had to hit off like off top. And a few months later, right at the end of the pilot program for the Growth and Opportunities Project position, Tony had reached out. Actually, it was Ron's campaign manager had reached out and said, anybody looking for a job? We have a staffer who left. And I was like, well, I got a few people, in mind who would be probably some good, let me say, solid African Americans that I would like to bring to the table. And she was like, yeah, let's look at them. And lo and behold, maybe a few months later, I just said, you know what? Maybe I should have put my name in that list of names. And I called the campaign manager back and said, hey, did you guys ever fill that position? And she was like, Orlando, we actually have not. Are you interested? I was like, you know what? I think I will. And it was the strangest interview I ever had. Tony Blando meets me in the parking lot. I'm sorry, at the main office downtown Milwaukee at the federal courthouse. And we just having a conversation up the steps to the elevator, gets to the main hallway. He says, listen, Orlando, the job is yours. I just want to see, how you, interact with the rest of the staff when we walk in this office. But if you want it, it's yours. I was like, that got to be the strangest interview I ever had in my life. Whoa, what? And so I go in, start working for Senator Johnson. Probably, I don't know, less than 90 days. I hadn't met Senator Johnson yet, but I get this assignment to go talk to the Sheboygan County Economic Development Corporation, and that kind of leads into the creation of the Joseph Project.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Joseph Project. It's on my list of notes, but I do want to talk about the original step into politics. Was this something like do you remember a moment, whether that was in college or at some point in your life when this field, because it's a tough one. I mean, to even put politician at any level, it seems like there's a connotation to it. Now, I understand that there's a momentum to want to do good things and to improve things and to, obviously take a look around and say, wow, I feel like these injustices are happening, or this could be fixed with, the right person in this position. But for you, what was that calling for you to venture into politics, to really start to understand the inner workings of stuff? Was there a moment, or was it just kind of like a natural progression that you ended up, kind of in the position you are now?
For me, it was probably more of a natural progression. I ran for office in high school, middle school. I ran for office in college. I was very active. I went to Whitewater for a couple of years, and I finished off my degree in Morris Brown Historical Black College with a business degree and an emphasis on marketing. There, I was a student council. I was a business council president, marketing club vice president. So I was kind of active that way. Come back, fast forward to Milwaukee. I have a son here. So I graduate and want to come back to Milwaukee. My son's here. And my dad is a block club captain, and he takes me to a local block club meeting. At the time, it was the leaving Alderman Marvin Pratt in Milwaukee, legendary Marvin Pratt. He was about to run for mayor because it was right after the Norquist debacle with his extramarital affairs. So Marvin is like, I'm getting ready to be interim mayor. Well, I'm already interim mayor. I'm going to run to be a full term. And in this meeting, he's talking about property taxes. Like, hey, property taxes getting ready to go up. And, it is what it is. I'm like, and I know it's my dad. I'm like, my dad. I said, why is the taxes going up? You guys are barely making it. I know how hard you work and how hard my mother-in-law works, stepmom work. What's going on? He was like, I don't know, son. So I'm ballsy, young, brash young man. I raised my hand. Mr. Alderman, why are the property assessments going up and taxes going up? This is what gets me ticked off. Marvin Pratt says, well, taxes just have to go up. I said, you see. And that started my, figuring out why is that? And how does property taxes relate to assessed values? And it starts me on this journey. And I'm like, well, man, hold on. I didn't like that answer because it don't make sense. People in the city were barely making it who are homeowners and people who are renters. And you telling me it just has to go up with no explanation of why it has to go up. It just has to go up. Taxes, and he added this, taxes never come down. I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute. And that starts me on my research to look at, how, government is funded. I've always seen FICA and WISCO, but didn't know exactly what. So that starts my journey of saying, I don't like how this looked. I didn't like the way the answer he gave me.
Yeah.
And so my dad was like, well, he's leaving. Maybe you should think about running, young man. I said, well, Dad, maybe I should. And lo and behold, not, ever running for any official office, I said, I'm going to do it. And get into the race late. It's like a 5-person race. Running against now sitting alderman Ashanti Hamilton, who was Marvin Pratt's assistant. I didn't know the power of connection, didn't know the power of party, didn't know the power of just, being, in the in crowd. And I go out there and I get blasted,
Yeah.
But what I learned over that time, I got in late, maybe about 6 months before the election. I learned that you need to have a great team. You have to raise money. You have to work, because Wisconsin only has 4 days of summer each year. So I can't cover all these doors because winter. And so I said, the day I lost, this is crazy. The day I lost, I started campaigning the very next day.
That's how you got to do it.
Like, didn't we just have an election yesterday? I said, yeah, I'm campaigning in the next 4 years. I got to get these doors done. It was like, you're kind of odd. I said, nah, I'm determined.
Yeah.
And that kind of just started. That was my fuel.
Well, I think the awesome part about it is not just, I'm sure for you, the learning experience going through the process, but the reason that it started was because of being inquisitive and wanting answers. And I think there's a lot of people out there that, first off, I think you're correct in the ballsy question, because everybody seems to hear those things and go, wait, but they don't ask the question. They don't say, well, why do our taxes have to go up? Why does this stuff have to happen? But for you to answer, to take that question and run with it and say, I want to figure this out, because this does not feel like this doesn't feel like it's the right answer. This just feels like something could work better. You're witnessing what's happening in your community and saying, wait a minute. I feel like these people deserve more than it just has to be this way.
Well, I mean, I guess that was my first, I've always been a rebel.
Yeah.
So, most people of color, we tend to be morally conservative, but socially liberal. What I also learned in that time was the power of being, even in non-partisan races, how partisan they really are.
Yeah.
And so, I thought that I needed to be a Democrat because, that's what I thought. All Black people, we vote Democrat. And so I went to the meetings. I joined the Democratic Party, and I went to the meetings. And there were two things that did not square well with me, and it caused me to really reassess everything. Me coming from Atlanta, Georgia, a historical Black college, in an area that it was affluent Blacks who were doing well. Had a Black mayor, Black police chief, Black, lawyers, doctors. And so I just seen that because I left Milwaukee, right? So that was the first time I really saw affluent Blacks before. So I get down there and I see all this Black excellence. It's like, whoa, this is Atlanta, as they call it, the Mecca. And I was like, this is crazy. And so I come back here and I go to these Democratic meetings and they tell me, this is a white person tells me, well, those old racist white people, hold Black people back. I said, wait a minute, you're white. Why do you think you're the good white person and this other side is the bad white people? Something's not right with that. And she ended like, we have to help our brothers because we know those racist systems. I said, as a graduate, cum laude, academic All-American, walk onto the basketball team, honor student in high school. What I wanted from anything else is an equal opportunity. I didn't need white people to come be my white Jesus. I already had a mom and a dad and a savior. But they felt like they had to save Black people. So it insulted my intelligence when I heard this white woman talking about this. And then the next thing. I'm not a perfect man. I've made many mistakes before in life, and we'll get to that later in the interview, hopefully, that, I've lived life. I've been divorced, lost a business, lost my homes, but God. I wouldn't always save, but I was always kind of in and out of the church. the next question that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, that led me away. The same young lady said, well, let's not forget about our gay, lesbian, and transgendered, whatever, brothers and sisters.
Hmm.
I said, wait a minute, man. Now, I ain't churchy dude, but I'm church dude.
Hmm.
I know what the word of God says. It's to love the sinner, but hate the sin. And that lifestyle is not one that God kind of really rocks with. So now you've just offended me by my faith and my intelligence. This can't be for me. And I started listening. This is during the Bush era, Bush second.
Yeah.
I started listening to a guy who has a golden microphone. I think his name was the Golden IB, Rush Limbaugh. I started listening to Rush Limbaugh on my break times at work.
Wow.
And I would say, yeah, I don't know if I would say it the way he said it, but I kind of agree with what he said. And then, as you probably know, living in Wisconsin, but here in Milwaukee, right after Rush Limbaugh, it's this tall kind of guy looking kind of rough around the edges, talking guy named Mark Belling.
Hmm.
And I was listening to this guy. He was filling in for Rush one day. He was like, I'm Mark Belling from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was like, hey, I'm from Milwaukee. And he started listening to this guy. I was like, wait a minute. I definitely wouldn't have said it that way, but I kind of agree with the guy.
Hmm.
Before I knew it, I was like, I'm a conservative. And then I took it one step further. I said, I'm a Republican. And I took it one more step further. I'm a black Republican. I said, doggone it. And that's kind of my maturation in getting into the Republican Party. My first campaign was Judge Prosser. I went to a local Republican club here in Milwaukee, near Milwaukee. Milwaukee didn't have one. The nearest one was Wauwatosa.
Yeah.
And I'm a Wauwatosa West grad. I went into the campaign office and all the eyes turned. Like, who is this young man? And I walked back to this back table. It looked like this guy was running everything. I walk up to him and say, hey, I came here to help. He said, you came here to help? I said, I came to help you. He said, well, if you came to help, get a table and get a phone. I was like, all right. And that was my step into the whole idea of being what is a free thinking conservative and what made me a Republican.
I think that story, again, it's going through the process. It's the evolution of you politically and the understanding of both sides and the partisanship, obviously, when you started getting into like running for places, even when there's not supposed to be any. But that movement, that eye-opening stuff, I mean, was there any turmoil inside of you, or you were listening to the words and saying, I'm here. Like they're saying the things, like you mentioned, maybe not the way you would have said it when you talk about, Mr. Limbaugh, but you're like, but wait a minute. Like, was there any, did you have any turmoil with it? Or were you just like, you heard the message in your own terms and you were just like, I'm over here.
I really didn't. Once I heard it, because I knew what I had just heard, and that didn't sit well with me. This felt right when I heard it. When I heard like hard work pays off, I went to business school to become the best businessman I can. I wanted to make as much money and take care of my family and be an ethical business person that rocked with me. My father's a Marine. My grandfather's a Marine. And my uncle's a Marine. My granddaddy liked to hunt. I love my guns. And so these things kind of, growing up, you can't tell right now, but a lot of my friends, black and brown, we grew up being athletes. And we've all taught the same thing, like, hey, hard work pays off, from all our coaches. Like you gotta want it more than the next person. We've learned to be competitive. It was ingrained, like you got to be the best, and so those ideas of conservatism, the rugged individualism, I was already kind of an individual. I went to a white high school. I was part of the 220 program, so it was already kind of like doing my own thing. I was already a free thinking person. I didn't rock with everybody. Yeah. I wasn't the in crowd. I was a poor family, didn't have the money. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a student athlete. I knew that early on and be successful. And so having those kind of just, again, this is why today's society is so strange and how things have gotten so far off track. Most of these young boys and these girls, they all love LeBron James. They all like Kyrie Irving. And they will all tell you the same thing. You got to work hard. You got to want to be the best. Yep. you got to dig deeper than the next person. So I don't know how we got into this whole idea that the idea of capitalism is bad. The idea of like hard work, sheer rugged individualism is a bad thing. We've always been taught that. Always. Even the drug dealer wants to be the best drug dealer. But how in the world you vote differently?
Yeah, it's a lot of question marks, and I think that message has always been a very strong one for for a lot of individuals. When you're like, if you want to have things and you want to be something and you want to create and you want to maybe have your own business, or you want to you have to put the effort in. Entrepreneurship, and you mentioned athletes. I mean, Kobe Bryant was the hardest worker maybe in the history of sport. Up early, after games. I mean, after winning championships, he's like, all right, just like you after you lost your first, your first election.
Automatic race.
The next day, after Kobe wins or loses a championship, he's back to work. And that obviously, has paid off, and it's paid off for guys like LeBron and Kyrie Irving as well. Now, I want to get back to talking about the Joseph Project with you. I know, as we kind of mentioned, the maybe the greatest interview that you ever went through, up the stairs into the office is like, well, you have the job. Like, all right, well, thank you, I appreciate that.
I'll take it.
So, but tell me about the Joseph Project and being a co-founder of it, and the impact that it's had since you've had your hands on it.
So before I worked for Senator Johnson and before I worked for the state party, I spent about 15 years in the workforce development, in social services, but also had some corporate experience as well too. And so I've always known that there was a transportation issue. And as an alderman, that's one of the things I was going to run on. Like, why are we trying to have public transportation go out, to the suburbs? I knew that wasn't going to happen because, let's be clear, a lot of white people were very concerned about some of the crime elements in the city. They didn't want public transportation running 24 hours a day, having multiple stops in their communities. But what they would take is probably more like a private shuttle that could work. And so I'd played with this idea before, and I was part of another movement in W2. I was a job developer, so I helped people find work, working with the business community, but also I was a translator. What made me very, very good at what I did was because I had a corporate background or corporate America background, and also had some social work background because I understood. I grew up helping the kids. My grandma was a block habit, sweeping the floor, sweeping the streets. She always had that, church was in there helping people. What made me unique was that I was able to take the social work jargon and to translate it into business terms that made sense to business people, because you got too many social work terms. Business is going to be like, man, I don't need all that. I just want somebody who want to come work. Right. You have that. And so I was able to break down the jargon, which made me very, very unique in that space. And so I had the opportunity to play with some ideas and concepts like this before, working in W2 my prior life. Fast forward, working for Senator Johnson. First assignment, 3 months, never seen the man yet. He gives us this book that everybody has to read. It's called The Triumphs of Joseph. 3 months into it, hadn't read the book yet. Just like, I get there when I get there. They send me out to meet somebody in Sheboygan, the Sheboygan County Economic Development Corporation. And this guy is struggling me about how they have all these manufacturing jobs in Sheboygan. And they're trying to get these young people a high school grant to get young people turned on to manufacturing. I'm from Milwaukee. So about 45 minutes into this thing, I slam my hand on the desk and say, look, man, I got love for the kids. I do. But I got grown men in Milwaukee who are being locked up for failure to pay child support. If you got all these jobs out here, man, I got grown men who need this money. He was like, okay. And so I connected with a friend of mine, or my uncle, uncle-in-law, and we got some pastors together because I'm a minister. And I got some pastors together and said, I got this Sheboygan County group coming in. They say they got all these jobs. Can they come do a presentation in the city? And one pastor in particular, Pastor Jerome Smith, who was my best friend, co-founder, passed away about 4.5 months ago. He was like, listen, Orlando, I remember you when you was working for the state party. I'm glad you got a job with Senator Johnson. I thought it would be with Tammy Baldwin. That was his little nudge against me. I was like, no, I'm working with Senator Johnson. He's like, listen, you can use my church to meet. I won't be there. My wife will. And so he said, I'll get people to come. They come in. We got about 7 to 8 pastors there and different church officials. I'm part of the Church of God in Christ. It's the biggest African American denomination. We call it COGIC, Church of God in Christ. And they come. They do a presentation of all these manufacturing jobs, this, that, and the other. Next step was for us to go out to Sheboygan and take a tour. We stopped at Kohler, Rockline, and one other place. Toured the whole city about all these jobs. On the way back from that tour, the Joseph Project is born. We don't have a name yet. Remember, I hadn't read The Triumph of Joseph, which is written by Robert Woodson, a Black African-American, called him social impact specialist, that Ron Johnson. The whole concept of the Triumph of Joseph were these nonprofits who were small nonprofits in the community that everybody in the neighborhood knew about, but didn't have the big name notoriety or the big funding, not like a Betty Ford, nothing against Betty Ford,
right.
But it was like the smaller ministry that did the work. You know, a guy running something out of his garage, or the guy had a couple rooms he was giving to some people who just was down on their luck. They knew, everybody in the community always knew, like, if you need some help with something, go to so-and-so and so-and-so.
Right.
That was the whole concept of the Triumph of Joseph's. So on the way back from Sheboygan, we're looking around at each other like, we gonna do this? Like, yeah, we gonna do this. At this point, Senator Johnson doesn't even know what I'm doing yet. The only one knows is my direct supervisor. And so we get back to the church, we create a curriculum, and we start the first class with people who are close to the church, meaning the grandson or the granddaughter who didn't really come to the church, but the grandmama did, right? And so she's like, well, I got a niece, I got a nephew, I got a cousin. And so the first 12 were the people who were extensions of the church. Senator Johnson still doesn't know what we're doing. We have a whole class. As we had this week of classes going, the communications person is recording the whole thing. All 12 young men and women who went through the class that week got job offers. One guy couldn't take the job. He failed a drug test. We finally showed a video to Senator Johnson later that week. Senator Johnson calls me. I haven't met the man yet. It's like 3.5 in person because he got a crazy schedule, right? I haven't met him yet. I get a call on like a Saturday afternoon from my direct supervisor, who Senator Johnson has a lot of military guys on his staff. He's like, stand by for a call, Orlando. I'm like, stand by for a call. I'm thinking it couldn't be nobody else but the chief of staff or Ron Johnson. Sure enough, the phone rings. Caller ID, Ron Johnson. I was like, get out of here. What? I picked the phone up. Hello, Senator. He said, call me Ron. I'm looking at this video, Orlando. I want to thank you for what you're doing. I said, oh, Senator Johnson, it was all team effort. He said, no, Orlando, let me tell you something. I want to thank you for what you're doing. This is the right thing to do. Now, as we're talking about this thing, he's sniffling. I'm getting over a head cold myself, so I'm thinking maybe he got a cold, whatever. He doesn't have a cold. He says, listen, Orlando, I'm serious about what I'm saying to you. My wife and I are watching this in our car. I'm not sniffling for no reason. This has moved us. Whatever you all need to make this work, this is the right thing to do, just let me know. The very next call he makes is to Pastor Jerome Smith. From there, 6 years later, we helping young men who are genuinely looking for employment to opportunities that already exist. That's one of the things I want to bring as a treasurer, a thinker and a problem solver. You know, and I think that's what we need: great leadership, great thinkers. And, 6 years later, we are in Wausau, Green Bay, Milwaukee. We're looking at going to Racine. We had other U.S. senators who flew us out to see if they worked in Milwaukee, then they could maybe work in one of my, low income or, economically challenged areas. And so Ron Johnson connected us to other senators. So this model that we had, that we created, was awesome. And I finally, started skimming the book, The Triumph of Joseph. Now, the name came from the communications person. Like, we should call this The Triumph of Joseph. And so when I started reading it, I was like, this is why it should be called.
Have you finished it yet? Have you finished the book yet?
Most of it.
No, okay, good. It's got a couple.
It's in the work. There you go. 6 years later, I'm still working on it.
I understand. You're a busy man. There's a lot of stuff going on. Tough to get to that book. What a great story, though. I mean, about that thinking, that forward thinking, that like problem solving, and then doing things. Because I think there probably is, maybe not a lot, but there is, I'm sure, people in the political arena or working in senators' offices or governors' offices that have good ideas, and they write them down or they talk to a friend about them, and then they end up on the same notepad forever. But to go and implement and to get others involved and to put things into motion. And again, yeah, maybe it's a little bit of ask for forgiveness later. And sorry, I didn't read the book, Senator. But when you have that moment, that phone call, the first communication that you have, and it's that conversation. I mean, that not only has to, it validates the effort that you put in and the project, obviously the way it's grown, but it also, it must give you like even more encouragement to when you have ideas, when you see things, when you, and as you run for treasurer, like when I put things together, when I incorporate the people that I know and the networking skills that you've gained, like there's not much, if something's on the table and it's going to work, you're the guy that's going to push it forward come hell or high water.
Well, I'm the guy who won't take no for an answer. As you heard early on when I was, fresh out of college, I asked the questions why. Yeah. I've always been that guy. And, when you tell me I can't do something, oh, well, you told the wrong person that. Yeah. I've come from the gutter. I come from the street. I come from poverty. Everybody always counted me out. I was the first to graduate from my family in high school. I went to a white high school, Tulsa West. Graduated from Tulsa West, went to Whitewater, didn't finish there, became a dad early, and then to go to a historical black college, to walk onto the basketball team, become an academic All-America, who's who amongst scholastic athletes and students. You can't tell me nothing of how powerful God is. Yeah. So I've always been an underdog. I've always had to come out of the, from as a guy say on the block, I had to get it out of the mud. Always that from these shoulders. So Senator Johnson, what he gave me was the opportunity to be creative, and the staff around me to say, Orlando, that was a great idea. He says about it to this day. It's probably one of the greatest pieces of things he did since in office was the Joseph Project. Yeah. And that legacy will go on. Although my friend passed away, that legacy will go on in his name. His wife has stepped up, Marquita Smith. If you guys want to donate to our project, what makes us unique also is that we don't take any government money because we're a faith-based initiative. We talk about the power of Jesus Christ. Yep. Because we know that anybody can find a job, but really the change really has to come from within, and that has to be a spiritual foundation. And so for that reason, we don't take government money because we want to have the freedom to preach the gospel. So it's been so gratifying in my life. We've, over, 700, probably at this point, 900 people gotten jobs. Wow. The amount of money that we saved the taxpayers who went from, taking from the taxpayers to actually now contributing to the tax base. Millions and millions of dollars. Yeah. This is what you get if you elect me as your next state treasurer. Someone who is a problem solver, who say, well, show me the parts and let's fix it. Right. I don't take no for an answer. Some people can point and be problem identifiers, but very few of us can be problem solvers.
Yeah. There is an overabundance of problem identifiers in the world right now, Orlando. And I'm just saying, there's a ton of people behind a keyboard somewhere just pointing at other stuff and saying, nope. And the selected handful of people that are like, well, here's how we solve that problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Senator Johnson, what he made me, what I've learned from him is learning how to be poised under pressure, follow your convictions, follow your guide, follow your principles, even if the other Republicans and other people who don't, who are supposed to be with you don't agree with you. I'm a black Republican. I'm used to not having people totally agree with me. So again, having that type of tenacity and that gut, I was already a pit before I came to Senator Johnson. All he did was unleash the pit bull and say, Orlando, go find it. I was like, I'm on it. I did some work with the community block grant and did some digging. That was one of my biggest other projects of finding the money. Who gets the money? I found out how the block grant even worked. I said, man, this is nothing but a big, huge slush fund. Yeah. And so again, that type of investigation ability and not taking no, and kind of being that dude, that pit that you need, that's what I bring to the table.
I think we're all in need of that at this point for the entire state. But you talk a lot about your faith and being an elder in the Church of God in Christ. When does that ministry enter in to you? It sounds like it's like the faith has always been there. When you in your journey, from Missouri to Milwaukee, to Whitewater down to Georgia. But when does it become more than just having the faith? It becomes something that you are compelled to to not just for yourself, but for others, to empower others through this?
Man, for me, really, is always God has always been in my life,
Yeah.
man. I've come out of poverty, right? So I've always had to be a person that I had to turn to God because I didn't have a whole lot going.
Right.
You know, only way you get out of the hood is either you have a wicked jump shot, you can throw a ball a mile, you can spit some bars, or you hustle, right? And I just saw it. I had it in all my family. I got some hustlers and some players in my family. I got some police and military men in my family. So I've seen both sides. And my faith has always brought me through. Now I lived my faith a lot more when I became older. I became, when I started taking the relationship with God even more serious. Again, I'm not a perfect man. I've been married, divorced, lost my businesses, lost my home, and I had to turn to God even the more to bring me to a place in which I had to rebuild. And 10 years later, I'm married to my wife, who's awesome. She's walking in the room right now looking for something. Go ahead. She wants to change the angle.
You're good.
And so you can't see that. I'm 47 years old, my friend. And I got a 5-month-old son sitting in the other room. So you can't tell me what God can't do.
Right.
And I work for one of the most rock solid conservative Republican leaders you will ever want to work for. Only in America can that happen. From this to that, only in America can that happen. That my story is like even possible. That's why I don't rock with CRT. That's why I can't rock with this whole idea of Marxism. That's why when you saw the video I sent you the other day, I was in Eau Claire. That's what gets me charged up, that I love my country. First, I love God. I love country. I love family. I love my freedom. And I love the fact that God has placed me to be in the great state of Wisconsin, the home birthplace of the Republican Party, the party that fought for free slaves, abolitionists, who stood on the side of what was right in this world. And so, I'm blessed, man. I'm a Badger Boy State governor in 1992. I'm what King talked about, right? The opportunity, and took out. We shouldn't ask for equity,
right?
We should ask for equality. It's opportunity. That's all we want. Because equity means you control the outcome. As an athlete, as you probably know this as well too, man, you get out what you put in.
100%.
If you ain't a hustler, you can't expect to perform. If you don't put in the time in the gym in the off season, you won't excel. If you don't put in the time in the books, you won't get the grade. I wasn't the most brightest young man. I was an honor roll student because I worked harder than the other person. I was determined to make it. I had a shoebox full of basketball letters, right? I had a moving box full of academic letters.
There you go, man. I know. You know what I love about you is there was a point in time where politicians, people running for any office, there always was this detachment because you could never feel like, oh, this is an actual human being. This is somebody who's experienced different things in life, maybe different things than me, but they've gone through trials and tribulations and things have been great. And then they've had to maybe crawl out of the mud once in a while. There was always this nostalgia about, the polished politician who, is, 2.5 children and went to the most prestigious schools. And you're like, this person has no idea, has zero clue about anything that I've experienced on any level. And that's what always, I think, has been for a lot of people, a guard against politicians, is because they're like, here's a guy, not you, because you've lived and experienced things, but here's a guy on a pedestal somewhere who's telling me all the things that we have in common. And I'm like, I count zero things that we have in common. But when you have somebody who's not only gone through life and experienced life, because we all have, but also has the pit bull when it comes to an idea that turns into things actually happening. People, again, we talked about people have ideas. I have a Post-it notepad right here just in case I have them, but a lot of times they sit on there because some people don't have, the guts, the cojones, the whatever to actually implement things, but you have that vision because you've seen things, and you can say, I bet if we got this group and this group together, that we can make a lot of things happen. And of course, I'm looking at the Joseph Project as that prime example of that. So, man, I mean, kudos to you and all that you've accomplished so far, and the lives that you've changed so far. I mean, that has to be. I have a 11-year-old now, but I remember 5.5 months. I remember that. I remember those days. I remember the sleepless nights. But let
me say this first. Glory be to God for all the many blessings He's done. And my 5-month-old, he's teething, man. He's our miracle baby. I ran for office last year, and I guess it must have been one of those rainy days. I couldn't do no doors that day. But Mrs. Owens,
who doesn't love a rain day? There's something romantic about the rain. I know, I get it.
So and that's what brings me to now, man. I looked at the individuals, and I looked at how can I best serve my state. I don't know what Senator Johnson is going to do. I said, I love what we're doing. I love, what we've done in these 6 years, man, 7 years with the senator. And I said, well, I want to continue working and to make things work in government, to make it better, to make it what it should be. And that should be serving the people, and working for the people, right? A novel idea. And it should be done cost effectively, and we should have great customer service. And I looked at it, and I thought about maybe, whoever the next Republican governor will be, maybe they look at me for the DWD secretary or the deputy DWD secretary, and I said, and people came to me and said, that's a lot of, you really got to know a lot of people, whatever. I said, yeah, I know a few, whatever, but it's whatever. Again, I'm the kid from 21st and Hampton. You ain't going to tell me what I can't do. So, I looked at maybe running for the assembly race again. And here in Milwaukee, it's a tough sled. Yeah. Trying to correct the misnomers of history, like CRT tries to confuse people, what the civil rights movement was about and what our country was founded upon. That's again why I cannot rock with it, because from a civic standpoint, it's wrong, and then from a biblical standpoint, it's wrong. Yeah. And so therefore, I can't preach it, and I definitely won't teach it. And so I looked at, maybe I should run for governor. Maybe not. Why not? Stranger things have happened. I said, no, I got this new baby. Yeah. And so I said, maybe lieutenant governor, maybe, secretary of state. And I said, why not treasurer? Why not treasurer? And I know the job itself, some people's like, well, what are your qualifications for the treasurer, Orlando? I said, well, first of all, I love God. I love country. And I love Wisconsin. I'm qualified. Because anyone who does the research will know that the treasurer, secretary of state really don't have any responsibilities at all in our state, because the responsibilities have been stripped away. Yeah, I'm running to help bring those responsibilities back to the position, to be focused on workforce development, because that's what I've been doing for 25 years. And also, again, to be the watchdog over your money. And so my wife and I prayed on it. We had a newborn, and so I had to make some. My wife is something else, bro. She didn't say, I need you to have a honey-do list. She said, I need to have some assurances from you. I said, assurances. She said, assurances from you. And, she, my wife's awesome. And, I have an incredible baby, incredible support system that's allowing me to do this. And when I've been on the trail, man, I've been on the trail now for almost 4.5 months. And you see you've been on my Facebook page. You see all the places I went, I didn't know there was so many county fairs in Wisconsin.
Oh man, dude. And they put them all in like to a 2-month period, because it's the only time it's nice out.
Man. And so the whole idea from the barn to the booth, people are like, what is that about? I said, we need to be talking as conservatives, Republicans, or just freedom-loving Americans. Everybody from the barn to the Republican booth to the election booth. What I found when I went on this campaign trail, it was just something that was real weird, man. I went to a Republican barbecue. Ron Johnson was there, Rebecca Clayfish, Nicholson was there, Ron Johnson, we were all there. I got a chance to speak as well too. Rebecca Clayfish gets up and said, hey, I can't stay, you all. I got to go to the Jefferson County Fair. Now we're in Dane County. I'm like, wait a minute. I got to pass Jefferson County to get back to Milwaukee County. I slide into the county fair also. And in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to go to this Republican booth. It's going to be people everywhere. It's going to be excitement. That's not what I found.
Hmm.
I get to the booth, and there's two people there who are volunteers, one elected official there. Everybody that's walking by the booth, a few people wave, a few people come up and they talk to the elected official who, that's their area.
Right.
But not what I thought. I couldn't figure out what was going on, Brother Coop. And what happened, I was hungry. So I was like, you know what? I want to give me a Wisconsin fed cow burger, here, and I want to, get something local, right? And so I see this lady, and she had these two sons. I didn't know at the time were her sons. They're standing beside her. I walk up to a white lady, said, "Ma'am, I'm looking for a good Wisconsin-fed cow to get me a good hamburger. Can you give any recommendations?" She's like, "Yeah, this place over here, they're kind of local. I heard. I've been eating from them all week." I said, "The whole week?" She's like, "Yeah, all week." I said, "What you been doing here the whole week?" She said, "Well, we were at the draft horses." I said, "Draft horses?" She said, "Draft horses." "You don't know what draft horses are?" I said, "No, ma'am." So Orlando, get your burger and come follow me. And as we walk into the back to the stable, to the barns where the draft horses are, I tell her that I'm a Republican and I'm running for treasurer. She says, "What?" I say, "Yeah." She said, "Well, Orlando, you're going to love the draft horse people because the draft horse people are Republicans." I said, "Well, they my people. Let's go." And we get back there, and it's a whole nother world.
Yep.
It's a whole nother world. You got all these different communities, these people that's buy their horses. And I'm learning, like, man, where are these people at? I'm like, this is like a whole nother community, right? And so her son says, "You should stay for the competition, Orlando. We'll have the 6-horse hitch, the 4-horse hitch, and the unicorn." I said, "The unicorn?" I said, "Yeah, the unicorn." I said, "Oh my God, let's go see what's going on." And I go to the field area where the fences are, and they have these Belgians. I thought they was Clydesdale. They're Belgians. And, I'm sitting there at this fence watching all these people start to come out to watch the competition. And I asked the lady's son, who's taking me around at this point, "Did you vote last year?" He said, "Orlando, I didn't vote last year. I had to work." I said, "I understand." And as I'm looking, Coop, more and more people are coming. I said, "Hey, man, did these people vote for Trump?" The young man said, "Orlando, we all voted for Trump." I said, "This is the Trump voter." I said, "It took a black man to find the Trump voter." He said, "We all voted for Trump." And then I started asking some questions to the people. "Do you see many elected Republicans come back here and talk to you all?" It was like, "No, they don't come back here with us. They stay at the I guess you call it the midway."
Yeah.
They stay at the midway. I said, "The midway." They said, "They stay up front. They don't come back here with us." And that's where the disconnect was between the party and the grassroots. What Republicans were doing, and maybe still doing, is exactly what Democrats do to the black and brown vote. They underappreciate it because they think they got it already. Most of these people at that affair were going to vote Republican probably 85, 90%. But just imagine how many will vote if we actually gave them a reason to vote and got them excited to vote. And I'm one who I always want to expand the tent to the black and brown communities as well. But I also found out, and I kind of support the idea, we got to get out to the barn and talk to these people. This is our backbone because they don't have to vote. These guys are farmers. They got plenty of things they can be doing. And so before I left, the young man said, "Orlando, make certain you go to the Derby." I said, "The Derby? You got to go to the Derby and the tractor pull."
Oh, yeah.
I said, "Tractor pull." And so I don't go there. But my next county fair I went to, I did the same thing. I spent about 15 minutes at the booth, and the rest of my time was at the bar. And I'm talking to people. I'm taking pictures, as you can tell on my Facebook page. I'm taking pictures all about the cows and the goats. And then once I found out there was, draft horse people, there's goat people, there's cow people, there's riding horse people. I'm like, man, and all these different segments of potential voters. And all they need to be is encouraged. And that's kind of how I started. That came from the barn to the booth. And actually, I started off from the booth to the barn, but actually it was wrong.
Yeah.
The barn is where the people are. And you work yourself back to all those conservative groups in the middle who are patriot groups who may not ever join the Republican Party at all, but they're all conservatives. And we as conservatives, Republicans, we got to talk to all of those groups because we're going to need all those votes. And that's how, man, I got excited, man. I went to the tractor pull, man. You saw my Black Guns Matter.
Black Guns Matter, right?
Yep. People like, "Is that Black Lives?" They say, "Oh, that's Black Guns." They walk up. It's a conversation starter, man. People walk up to me everywhere and say, "Can I take a picture with you?" I say, "Why are you taking a picture? Here's my card. I'm running for state treasurer." I'm a Republican. Yeah. And it's just been a crazy ride, man, for 4.5 months. Crazy, man. So anybody else gets in the race, I'm not going to discourage you to get in the race, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not getting off the gas.
Right.
We rolling. We're rolling because we want this thing really bad. And I hope people are seeing that the energy I bring, people love the energy because I still think America's worth fighting for, Coop. I think freedom is still worth having, Coop. I still love my liberties, Coop. I still get fired up, Coop.
As you should, man. And what a great way to break up the disconnect between the booth and the barn, because I think there's a lot of that. And you witnessed it firsthand, and you've flipped the script on the whole thing. The county fairs in Wisconsin is just a great big pie. And you went, wait, they're all back there. You know why? Because they're there for a purpose. They're there for a reason. They're there to work hard. They're there because, raising draft horses and goats and sheep and cattle, that's where the hard workers are. You talk about the farmers. They're working, Maybe they'll get some time to run through the midway and get some cheese curds or get some fries, but they're there to work. This is part of the things that they do. But to be able to break that down, like, well, why isn't the booth happening? Why isn't there a crowd of people just cheering and chanting and, waving the American flag out here? It's because they're working. And
Yep.
To be able to have that break up that monotony and go, aha, I see where you are. That's
right.
beautiful, man.
I said, you are the voters we've been looking for. And I encourage every Republican party that I go to, because some are better than others. Let me just be clear. Some parties are better than others in different counties. But I will tell everybody, like, man, you got to get away from the booth. You got to get to the barn. You got to get there. And then, man, I tell you, it was something that happened one night. I was at a tractor pull, man, and I had my Black Guns Matter shirt. I just tried something, Coop. I just stood up in the middle of the crowd. So I walked all the way down one of the grandstands. I made sure everybody saw my shirt, and people were looking. They was like, they was pointing a little bit. I just yelled, Coop. I said, does anybody still love America? The people was like, yeah. I said, does anybody still love freedom? It was like, yeah. I said, do you still love your guns? It was like, yeah. Coop, the people came down, running out the stands, getting my car, like, who are you?
Right.
It was crazy, Coop. And no Republicans even were at the tractor pull. They wasn't at the Derby. None of that. I said, this is where we mess up. This is where we mess up at. These are our voters, and we want them to show up for us 95% of the time. But we're not at where they are at all.
That's awesome, man. I mean, again, this is just a reiteration of that pit bull inside of you and the inquisitive mind inside of you and the one that doesn't take no for an answer. That's like, oh, we're going over there. We're going to the tractor pull. We're going to the barn. We're going to go see all of our voters because they're not going to come to the booth. That's not how they roll. They live their lives because they love the freedoms, because they're like, this is what I do as an American. So I want to talk about like the next few months of your life. Like, I know it's obviously busy with a 5-month-old, but is it gas pedal the whole time, man? Are you're full ahead steam and ready to roll into 2022?
Man, we gonna ride this juggle till the wheels fall off. Ain't no stopping, baby. Ain't no stopping. So I think we positioned ourselves well during the summer campaign. Yeah. I think we did our first real major exposure was, shout out to my friend Cindy Warner. We do a lot of riding together. We don't run as a ticket, but we do carpool together. She's part of the Frederick Douglass Foundation, and she had a booth, or she had an actual space to speak. It was Colonel Alan West, and also Clarence Henderson, one of the civil rights activists who were at the counter doing the sit-ins, right? Yeah. And she had her nephew. Her nephew was the guy who actually owns Black Guns Matter, the gun club. His name was Ty. I forget Ty, but it's out of Philly. Gotcha. It's a Black gun club to talk about gun safety for elderly people. That's how it started, right? Very cool. And so he couldn't make it, Coop. And she's like, Orlando, my nephew got caught in the airport. He ain't gonna make it. I know I had you just up here praying, but do you want to talk? Coop, I told my story like I just told you. That I found out that my grandmama told me there's only two type of people in the world, good and bad, not white and black. I met some good blacks. I met some bad blacks. I met some good whites. I met some bad whites. And I told people about my conversion. I told how white people, you guys got to stop feeling so, like you can't stand up for yourself. Yeah. That moment kicked off my campaign. I didn't even know it. That was a state convention, and it's been rolling ever since. You seen the video I showed you. You saw the energy in the room. People was like, man, who is this dude?
I loved it, man. Loved it.
And I get people who write me and call me and say, man, keep that energy going. We need that fire. And I love my country. So the next fall, the fall schedule now is coming in, because now the weather's changing. Yep. There's not so many outdoor activities. So now we're getting invited to a lot of Republican booths. I mean, a lot of Republican, meetings and events, talking to the delegates. The way the state party works is that you have to get the endorsement of the delegates, right? And so I've been talking to a lot of delegates, and it's going well. I mean, they receive me well. Again, Coop, I'm not a perfect man. I'm not a perfect candidate. But I think what people appreciate is that first they see he has a love for his country. He loves God. And only in America is my story even possible. And so we're getting ready to roll into the fall session. I just got some postcards created, and man, we rolling, Coop. I need volunteers. I need people to call me. I need donations. As you heard in the video, hey, the treasurer needs some money for the campaign. I need some money. Help me out. So we're excited, man. I think we're positioned well. It looks like there's going to be about 3 people running on the Republican side for this race, but more power to them. They're going to have to catch up because I'm not getting off the gas.
That's awesome, man. Orlando4wi.com is the website, and of course on the socials as well. We have everything tagged down in the notes from the show today. And a treasurer who treasures you from the barn to the booth. I love it, man. Orlando, I love your story. I love everything about it. You got me jacked up over here, and I just run in general. I don't run for anything. I just run. But man, you got me fired up, and I love everything about what you got going on in your story. Congratulations on your baby and the awesome wife, and best of luck moving forward, man. I'd love to have you back on the show anytime you need to jump on and get a message out. Give me a holler, man. We'll get you back on, brother.
Hey, Coop, will I be able to post this later on my page?
Yes, I will. I'll shoot you over copies of the video and stuff, and you can share it. You can edit it down, do whatever you want. But I'll shoot you an email or a text after we get done here, and we'll get you all the stuff that you need, my friend.
Hey, Coop, let me also thank you for what you do, man, for standing up for conservative values and freedom. We need conservative talkers. We don't have many. And we need to make certain that, for a campaign like mine, we won't be on TV. We won't be on the radio. I need to talk to conservative talkers who can help spread the message of freedom and liberty. And so I leave you with this, my friend. Keep loving America, because America looks good on you.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you, my friend. Anytime. We'll be in touch. We'll get you back on here. My best to everybody. And we'll get you all the info you need about getting this video posted on your site, Orlando. Take care of yourself, my friend. Awesome. There we go. Orlando Owens on the show. Again, Orlando Owens for Wisconsin State Treasurer. The website, one more time, is Orlando4wi.com. The link for everything is in the show notes of the post here, whether you're on Twitch, whether you're on YouTube, and whether you're on the Facebook. So appreciate it. Great conversation, man. Joe, thank you for hanging out. Yes. No, I'm glad he reached out, man. That was an awesome conversation. Long one, but we had a good one today. So thank you all for being a part of today's show. We are back on it tomorrow at 5 p.m. If you missed any of it, watch it on all of the places. We're everywhere you want to be. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. It lives forever. Orlando Owens, everybody. Thank y'all. Peace. Have a great night.